What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was the Shadow Monarch Part 6. Now, let's begin. Naruto's perspective. Naruto swiftly used his knives. Significant air pressure was generated, disrupting the ground around him as he countered his attack, and the force of his strike rebounded towards him. Remarkably, only a minor scratch appeared on his chest. Grunting, Naruto persisted in using counter to neutralize his attack and inflict damage in return. The creature let out a deafening roar as it propelled itself hundreds of meters into the air, utilizing gravity to its advantage and breaking the sound barrier. It descended upon me, swinging its axe sword with ferocity. I smiled, eager to seize this opportunity. I cast over 10 earth lances at the location where I was positioned. To my surprise, he drew the sword that had been secured to his back all along. Then, I swung it, creating a wave of air that propelled him away from the earth lances directed at my position. The situation unfolded rapidly, leaving me with no choice but to confront the challenge directly. The ground beneath me fractured further as the immense pressure displaced all the debris. I braced myself against the immense force of his attack and successfully redirected it. With a swift movement, I stepped aside and harnessed the momentum to deliver a powerful strike to his chest, ultimately executing a decisive blow. Minotaur swiftly created space between us, and then, with a fierce glare, he lunged at me once more. "This is frustrating," I muttered as I prepared to face the oncoming assault. I attempted to deliver a series of aggressive strikes. However, his budget healing factor allowed him to recover from them. Eventually, I began my assault in earnest. He let out a roar of pain as I leveraged my superior attributes to inflict injuries upon him. While these injuries were not immediately fatal, when combined with his previous serious injury and the cumulative damage I had caused, they could prove to be lethal. Utilizing my temporary agility, I executed a precise dagger strike to his chest while evading his attack, successfully inflicting another severe wound. A deep cut emerged on his chest, revealing his heart beneath. He let out a cry of anguish as his body began to falter, ultimately leading to his demise. As I was preparing to celebrate my victory, I sensed that something was amiss. A red window appeared before me immediately after this sensation. I promptly created some space between us as his body emitted a bright glow, and smoke emanated from it. The opponent has activated the skill Dead or Alive. When the user's HP reaches 0, there is a 50% chance of surviving with 1 HP instead. What is going on? Please remain composed, Naruto. You still have 1 HP left. You can eliminate it with a simple flick. As I reflected on this, I inadvertently brought about the situation as 2 new red windows appeared before me. The opponent has activated the skill Dead by Night. This ability transfers all damage to your future self, simultaneously healing all your wounds and eliminating any debuffs. Oh, come on. The enemy has activated Berserk and will enter a state of rage for the next 5 minutes. All attributes of the Minotaur are doubled. Minotaur is unable to experience pain, which comes at the cost of diminished mental capacities and a compromised sense of reason. Oh no, he has just transformed into a Berserker. As I observed, all of his injuries healed, allowing him to return to peak condition, and then a red aura enveloped him. He now appeared genuinely furious with bloodthirsty eyes. He charged at me with a fierce roar, swinging his sword axe in my direction. I seized his large axe, and to his surprise, after activating all my boosts, our strengths appeared quite comparable. However, it remained true that his base parameters surpassed mine. I could feel the pain radiating from my hand, which was bleeding and had a deep cut. With my other hand, I held his free hand, and at this moment, we were both facing each other with menacing smiles. Leveraging my exceptional agility following the sprint, I released his free hand and delivered a powerful punch to his jaw, channeling all my strength. The impact created a sonic boom, propelling him several meters away as he collided with multiple walls. Despite this, he managed to regain his footing and lunged at me once more. In that moment, I resolved to fully commit and swiftly recited, lesser dexterity, lesser strength, haste, penetrate magic. Ding! Reduced skill level. 1 rank. Rare, B, skill category. Active mana cost. 25, S, effect range. None cooling period. None enhancement. Boost dexterity. The skill enhances the player's dexterity, doubling its value. Upon maximizing the skill will to a high-level skillfulness. Requires a consumption of 5 mana per second to sustain the skill. Notification received. Reduced strength level. 1 rank. Unique, a type of skill. Active mana cost. 25. S. Effect coverage. None cooling period. None damage. Enhanced strength. The skill enhances the player's strength, doubling its value. Upon maximizing the skill will to a high-level power. Requires a consumption of 5 mana per second to sustain the skill. Ding. Urgency level. 1 rank. Unique, a type of skill. Active mana cost. 25. S. Effect radius. None cooldown. Not applicable damage. Enhanced velocity. The skill enhances an individual's speed, doubling it effectively. Upon maximizing the skill, the focus will be on achieving high haste. Requires a consumption of 5 mana per second to sustain the skill. Ding. Infiltrate enchantment level. 1 rank. Unique, a type of skill. Active resource expenditure. 100 effect radius. None cooling period. None no damage reported. The skill enhances the likelihood of bypassing the defense. Upon maximizing the skill, the focus will be on achieving high haste. I recently developed these spells as a precaution, and they are directly derived from the Overlord work. I once more intercepted his incoming axe attack, but this time the situation was distinct. My strength had significantly increased for a brief moment. I delivered a kick to his knee, causing him to collapse to the ground, and swiftly followed up with a punch to his face, disrupting his balance. He attempted to strike me, but I absorbed the blow without any effect. I seized his leg and began to swing him around at a high velocity before releasing him forcefully. He let out a powerful roar as he soared away hundreds of meters in an instant. I smiled with intensity, sensing my strength doubling alongside my other attributes, while my agility surged to 4 times its normal level. However, this came at a significant cost. I could feel my remaining mana depleting rapidly. I had only 3 minutes left before I would be completely out of mana, a calculation that factored in my mana regeneration speed, as without it, my endurance would only last 1 minute and 30 seconds. I persist in evading each strike, navigating perilous situations without any protection whatsoever. The cleaver strikes the ground repeatedly, each impact showering me and my injuries with soil and debris. The Minotaur's breath is deep and labored. Is it becoming increasingly frustrating due to it? Are you unable to strike me? At this moment, my breathing is steady, nearly tranquil. Certainly, I am experiencing significant perspiration. I have an overwhelming thirst at the moment. Each of the Minotaur's attacks unleashes waves of power repeatedly, yet they dissipate harmlessly across the prairie. Every sound within the dungeon at this moment. Paralysis has been imposed. The resistance of the target was excessively high. Effect has been cancelled. Bleeding has occurred. The resistance of the target was excessively high. Effect has been cancelled. I have lost count of the number of times I have encountered this screen. I have temporarily disabled the notification. I will ensure that I remain focused throughout the duration of the fight. I sprinted towards the Minotaur, arriving in an instant. With all my strength, I delivered a powerful kick to his head, enhanced by the tremendous force of my speed. The impact caused his skull to crack, sending him reeling once more. However, I swiftly repositioned myself, maintaining my momentum. Everything appeared to unfold in slow motion. The Minotaur's body was propelled away several meters before my eyes, which perceived the scene at a reduced pace. I struggled to comprehend the situation, as my attacks were executed with remarkable speed. I moved at supersonic velocity alongside his form and delivered a decisive upward chop to his neck with my hand. His neck cracked as the impact of my strike altered his trajectory, propelling him upward for hundreds of meters. I pursued his body as his neck, with all its injuries, began to heal once more. Now, with Berserk, his healing factor was not only twice as fast but also twice as effective as it had been previously. I positioned myself above him and confidently declared, "Flame Lance." A lance composed of pure fire materialized in my hand. Recovered. The Minotaur let out a roar, fear evident in his eyes, as I maintained a confident grin while we both plummeted, my body positioned above him. He attempted to shift his direction, but I prevented him from doing so as I plunged the lance into his heart. The fire lance pierced his chest, incinerating his heart to a crisp. The Minotaur recognized that this moment represented the sole legitimate threat I posed. We both collapsed to the ground, and his robust body beneath me absorbed all the impact, even though it was unnecessary. I seized the jaw of his primary lifeless form, as he continued to heal. Fortunately, there was a brief delay in his healing process, which provided me with the hope that his recovery was slowing down, making him vulnerable to being defeated. The Minotaur, his adversary, was incapacitated and vulnerable the instant the golden claw knife was removed from its defensive stance. If the blade were to penetrate the muscle, the Minotaur's bones would be at risk. The Minotaur attempted to impede my hands, but was thwarted by two earth lances that emerged on sight, effectively locking his hands in place. His head remained tilted to the left, with the light emanating from me reflecting off its eye. The Aardwolf's golden claw penetrated the Minotaur's vulnerable right flank, breaching its defenses. Power, momentum, magic, and centrifugal force converged in a single location. The effect of my unexpected assault profoundly unsettled the Minotaur and caused its body listing to the side. I plunged the knife as deeply as possible with all of my strength before consuming this. I extended my right arm forward, as if to indicate a need for distance. The Minotaur's eyes widened momentarily before I seized the opportunity and began to chant, "Fireball, fireball, fireball." A shockwave impacted the Minotaur's structure. Additionally, the creature comprehended. As I gazed into its eyes, perceiving its unusual intelligence and observing its fractured horn, I understood the course of action that needed to be taken. A fierce inferno surged ahead. Amidst the sounds of explosions and the crackling of intense flames, the creature was compelled reverse. The Minotaur emitted a powerful roar that resonated throughout the chamber. Fireball. A shock wave impacted the Minotaur's body. The creature's chest swelled abruptly, as though something profound within had detonated. Scarlet flames emerged from the injury inflicted by the Aardwolf's golden claw. The Minotaur's bloodshot eyes widened to their fullest extent. Fire bowl. Another opportunity for success. The Minotaur's upper body swayed, eliciting a sense of intrigue among the onlookers. Similar to sails on a vessel. Regardless of the thickness of its muscles or the resilience of its skin to magic, the interior presented a contrasting narrative. My magic propelled the knife even deeper, a network of flames emerging from within the Minotaur. Igniting the intense fire sought an escape and abruptly discovered the creature's throat. Gega. Scarlet flames emerged from its nostrils and mouth. With its throat and mouth reduced to ashes, it expended all of its remaining into its elbow and thrust it backward at me, shattering the earth lances that were obstructing his hands. A firm and resolute rejection. Strength. This assault, even without precise targeting, would certainly result in my body being reduced to a collection of fractured bones. It would be at the brink of demise. At that precise moment, the ground beneath the Minotaur made contact with its skin. Another occurrence. With a brilliant flash of light, the Minotaur's upper body disintegrated. Additional explosions resonated throughout the room as flames engulfed the remaining intact portions of the creature. Scarlet sparks ascended to the ceiling, subsequently enveloped by smoke. Yu Jinho observed the devastation and considered it appeared more akin to a volcanic eruption than the culmination of a duel. The legs of the Minotaur, which had largely withstood the blast intact, stood upright for a moment before falling to the ground. Subsequently, there was a downpour of incinerated tissue and blood. The ascending smoke tinted each of the myriad fragments as they moved by, traverse and ultimately make contact with the ground. The ascending smoke tinted each of the myriad fragments as they moved onward, traverse and ultimately make contact with the ground. Amid the sounds of the remaining pieces cascading to the ground, a single now half of the Minotaur's body spun repeatedly before making contact with the ground. With a decisive impact. Has Hyeonim completed it? He spoke in a hushed tone, clearly taken aback. He was captivated by Naruto, finding it hard to comprehend what he had just witnessed. Naruto faced away from Yu Jinho, yet Yu Jinho's inquiry was directed solely at himself. Naruto contemplated the time elapsed since he last witnessed such a brutal confrontation, questioning whether he had acquired the strength necessary to defeat a Minotaur. A formidable A-rank monster that required the combined efforts of an entire party to defeat. No, this Minotaur was unlike any other Minotaur. He possessed the expertise to create masterful weapons, with a skill set that could potentially revive him and enhance his strength beyond previous limits. How long does it typically take for someone to become strong enough to take one down? Is anyone else present? The question sparked a strong reaction in him, causing his face to flush. What began as a minor irritation in his gut escalated into a significant embarrassment. It extended to every part of his body. Mind down. He is positioned there, unconscious. Yu Jinho remained frozen in disbelief. His voice betrayed their disbelief as he regarded Naruto, who remained frozen in his final attack stance. His right arm remained positioned in front of his body, with his hands curled as though grasping the double daggers. He had numerous wounds on his body, and upon closer inspection, he could observe second-degree burns covering Naruto's body, which was stained with blood and remnants of Minotaur. However, he also observed that Naruto's body was undergoing healing at a significantly accelerated rate compared to prior instances. The young man admired the individual who had dedicated every ounce of energy to achieve victory in the battle. It felt like a book was laid open before him, with the protagonist stepping forth from the pages. Yu Jinho approached Naruto with a lack of stability in his stride. Upon reaching him, he observed the condition of Naruto. His clothing had deteriorated significantly, and his black undershirt was in tatters. His shoulder blades were entirely visible, with merely a few threads of fabric securing the shirt to his back. His entire post appeared as though he had immersed himself in blood. The blood was not solely from the Minotaur, it was also mixed with his own blood. He sustained numerous deep lacerations and second-degree burns across his body. Several of his teeth were missing, and his jaw was positioned at an unusual angle. The injuries he sustains are characterized by numerous broken bones and ruptured veins, clearly visible through the deep cuts. Even his hair was incinerated. Is he all right? Yu Jinho inquired of himself as he swiftly examined Naruto's nose and observed his breathing. He sighed and remarked, "Hyungnam is still alive, and fortunately, due to his status as a high-level hunter and his healing abilities, if he receives prompt treatment, he will survive." A smile appeared on Yu Jinho's face as he recognized this fact. He observed the Minotaur core, and he was taken aback. Despite having been struck by a fireball, his torso remained entirely intact. Remarkably, his upper body was also preserved, revealing only a skeleton along with all the organs and a deep layer of skin. It was surprising, given the extent of the punishment Naruto inflicted upon him. It demonstrates resilience and regeneration, striving to repair his body until the final moments of his life. He declined with a shake of his head. It was not the appropriate moment to consider this matter. He promptly retrieved the emergency kit from his bag, noting, "It was fortunate that I refrained from entrusting the emergency supplies to Hyungnam for storage in his special dimension." As he removed several glass vials containing a blue liquid and prepared to open one, he paused just before administering it. Naruto's eyelids opened abruptly as he swiftly grasped Yu Jinho's hand. Naruto surveyed his surroundings and noticed Yu Jinho standing before him, while his gaze fell upon the lifeless body of the Minotaur. He exhaled deeply and grimaced. As he experienced pain throughout his body, the surge of adrenaline had dissipated, and now all the discomfort returned, intensifying with even the slightest movement of his finger. He released Yu Jinho's hand, adjusted his jaw with a decisive snap, and murmured something as a blue light enveloped him, causing all his injuries to disappear in an instant. His teeth regenerate, and his hair returns to its original size. "This creature was quite a formidable opponent to defeat," remarked Naruto as he observed the lifeless body of the Minotaur. I expressed my frustration vocally, clenching my teeth. Yu Jinho appeared concerned behind me as well. Naruto's perspective. As I opened my eyes, I noticed a young man holding my hand, attempting to persuade me to drink a potion. I took hold of his hand. "Hyungnam, you finally woke up," said Yu Jinho with enthusiasm. I grunted as I surveyed the scene, noting the lifeless body of the Minotaur, which remained undamaged. I exhale, knowing that I have successfully eliminated the target. Given the condition of his body, I am still able to transform him into my shadow soldier. I expressed some discomfort and inquired of Yu Jinho, "Could you please release my hand?" He nodded slightly and responded, "Certainly, here you go," he said, releasing my hand. I emerged from my thoughts and noticed Yu Jinho leaping toward me, embracing me. "Finally, you are awake." For a moment, I thought we lost you. I surprised him by grabbing his head and then gently placing him back on the ground. Please refrain from approaching me in that manner, I stated. I closed my eyes to assess my mana reserves and evaluate the extent of my injuries. In fact, a wounded word fails to adequately convey my current condition, as I find myself in critical condition. Upon observing my body, I realized that I had acquired the skill of regeneration that ensured my survival. However, I sought to alleviate the pain, so I adjusted my jaw with a decisive snap and initiated status recovery. A green light enveloped me, as all of my injuries mended. And in the presence of others, it simply disappeared without a trace. I sighed and muttered, "That's better." Eugenio, noticing my recovery, remarked, "Whoa? How did you accomplish that?" I disregarded him as I was still covered in remnants from the Minotaur. I observed the time prior to the collapse of the structure, which was 2 hours and 46 minutes. It is noted that the Labyrinth takes 3 hours to collapse, which is useful information. Upon assessing my current condition, I recited, "Water Ball. Ding, Water Ball level. 1 rank. Rare, C+. Type of skill. Active cost to cast. 5 effect coverage. Individual cooling measures. None damage. 40 creates and propels a substantial volume of water." After carefully modifying and creating a large water sphere above me, I allowed it to descend. As the high-speed water cascaded over me, I felt thoroughly refreshed. I discarded my current attire and donned a new set of clothing. I replaced my shoes as they were entirely worn out. I observed Yu, who acknowledged my presence and began to elucidate the situation to me. I quickly grasped the situation that unfolded. After defeating the beast, I lost consciousness as a result of expending significant energy and mana in my final attacks. Following his death and my subsequent loss of consciousness were pivotal moments in my life, during which I acquired essential skills that ultimately safeguarded me from the brink of death. This realization struck me with the force of a locomotive, as I became acutely aware of how close I had come to death once more. This was an experience I never wished to encounter, feeling the weight of aging after enduring that emptiness for an indeterminate period. I aimed to distance myself from this situation and took various measures to achieve that, including extreme actions that resulted in significant pain and injury. Despite everything, I found myself perilously close to death at the hands of a creature that was not even mentioned in the narrative. I shook my head, clenched my fists, and bit my tongue to dispel these thoughts, as this was not the appropriate moment for such considerations. The situation was critical, and there was much to accomplish before the impending collapse. I checked out a bunch of notifications that popped up, and they backed up my theory about picking up multiple skills and items after taking down the Minotaur. I just didn't have the time to really dive into them. "We can take care of that later." "Alright, let's hit the place and make a quick getaway." I just shrugged. "Eugenio." I called out to him as he stared at the lifeless body of the Minotaur. As soon as he heard my voice, he looked right at me and said, "Yes, Hyungnim. So, we've got about 3 hours before the Labyrinth comes down, right? Let's go in and grab anything that seems important or just feels a bit off," I said to him. His face lit up, excited that he could finally pitch in and get something done. "Sure thing, Hyungnim. I'll do my best," he said, and I nodded in response. I quickly tossed the Minotaur's body into my inventory and made sure to grab the big broken red horn too. Honestly, Danmachi really made this into a solid weapon. I'm pretty sure I can find a way to use it. So, after that, I gathered up both of Minotaur's weapons, his axe and sword, and picked up the bits of light armor that had scattered away from him. Later, we strolled through the corridor leading to the boss room, and along the way, I grabbed all the sculptures of the Minotaur, Dragon, Oni, Hydra, Basilisk, and Chimera. There might be a clue about them, even if it seemed like there was nothing at first. But that's not really the case, since the finer details told a story that really stands out. The person who created them did so after witnessing the real deal. It was also figured out after taking a close look at the sculpture of the Minotaur, which turned out to be just like the Minotaur itself. It was so similar that every little detail on the sculpture reminded me of the Minotaur. They looked so much alike, so full of life that it felt like they might just spring to life and come after you. Even if it was all just in my head, they still looked amazing, like true sculptures. The stone they were made from was definitely not something you'd find on Earth. We picked out those fabulous pieces of art, and then we split up to search for anything that might have some value. We searched for over an hour, digging through everything, but we didn't come across anything meaningful. No secret rooms or traps were found. I tried to search for some magical energy, and I discovered a huge amount of magic power coming from the throne where the Minotaur was sitting right before the fight. I probably should have kicked things off with that, but honestly, I had no idea what I was really searching for. When I said those words, Eugenio returned with a sad expression, as if all the hope he had when I mentioned the possibility of treasure had vanished. Hyungnim. I checked all over the place, but I couldn't find anything that would even sell for a penny. He glanced at me and noticed how deeply I was focused on the throne. Hyungnim, do you really think this has any value? I mean, just look at it, it's so plain and simple, made from just regular old rock, not even lime or marble. I really don't think there's anything here. Before I saw those figures of magical beasts, I really thought they were quite valuable, especially when you consider the craftsmanship and all the details that went into them. He told me with a big smile on my face, and with an old meme face, I replied, "Are you sure about that?" I exclaimed as I punched the throne as hard as I could, causing it to crack and then break into chunks. What was left had both his and my eyes wide open. So, at first, there were a ton of gems and rubies, but none of the basic ones are the types you usually find in RPGs that you can use to craft or add to weapons for different enchanting effects. But that wasn't all there was. There were a bunch of magical tools too. At first glance, they might seem like a cheap knockoff of the original, but if you take a closer look, you can really feel the magical energy radiating from each one. As I checked them out, they seemed really high quality, and then a new window popped up in front of me. Sharing their names in detail. I just didn't have time for that with everything going on around me. The insides of the labyrinth trembled like everything was about to come to a halt, as a bunch of warning windows popped up in front of my eyes. Hyungnim. What's happening? The labyrinth shook again, almost like it was urging him to go. Just a heads up. Since the core of the labyrinth has been destroyed, it's currently collapsing. Stay safe. Time left. 4:30, 4:29, 4:28, 4:27, 4:26, 4:25. So, we only took down this throne, right? Does that mean the throne of self was the heart of the labyrinth? That's good to know, I suppose. This place is about to fall apart, so we should really get out of here, I said to him, and Eugenio nodded, probably thinking some kind of monster was on its way. After I said that, I quickly grabbed all the weapons from inside the throne and then hoisted Eugenio up, tossing him over my left shoulder like a sack of potatoes. What are you up to, Hyungnim? He asked, looking a bit embarrassed. I responded to that. The labyrinth is going to collapse in less than 4 minutes. So, unless you can somehow travel over 5 kilometers in that time and dodge all the chaos happening outside, things are about to get really messy with monsters running around. He looked at me with wide eyes, taking in the situation, and just nodded as I took off running at full speed. Wow, this is just so embarrassing, I asked him with a smile. So, do you want me to carry you in a princess carry? No, absolutely not, he responded without hesitation. Even though I was running a lot faster, we could still clearly hear each other. I noticed the whole place was falling apart, and monsters were scurrying around, trying to save themselves. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to finish them off, so I just kept running, dodging any monsters or collapsing walls that popped up in my path. No worries, I get it. Having a dude's butt on your shoulder isn't exactly ideal. I really like a beautiful woman with a nice figure and curves. I honestly told him, and his face got even redder. These days, teenagers seem to get embarrassed about just about anything, especially in Asian countries. Thanks to my level up, we zipped to the exit in just a few seconds. It really highlights how many levels I picked up from this place. This raid was definitely the most successful and rewarding one I've ever had, for sure. It was just as dangerous. We arrived at the gate, which was still red, but the force field that had kept us from getting out was gone now. As soon as I sensed that gate was about to close, we both made our way out of the place. I glanced around and noticed everyone looking pretty anxious, but I didn't have time to deal with their nonsense about why it took us so long to wrap things up. I was feeling tired, not so much in my body but definitely in my mind. Even though the recovery status clears away any negative effects, I still just wanted to sleep. I'm really glad that the team we brought didn't reach out to the association. That's a relief because I definitely want to avoid them right now. Honestly, All I want to do is head home and get some sleep. Yu Jinho came up to me and gave a little bow. Sorry, Hyungnim, that's all for today. The other gates are just too far away. No need to apologize. The twilight is lighting up the sky as the young night makes its entrance, but thanks to our hard work, all the gates around here are closed, so it looks like it's time to wrap things up for the day. Even though everyone was curious, it took us ages to get through this dungeon, so nobody really asked any questions. Plus, their contract didn't really allow them to ask us anything anyway. You've really put in the effort. Oh, the person who put in all the effort is the raid leader. Catch you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. You've really put in the effort. After saying goodbye to the other hunters, Yu Jinho and I hopped into the car. I can give you a ride home, Hyungnim. Before I realized it, Yu Jinho had turned into a reliable driver. It was pretty fitting to see him holding the handle like that. I couldn't help but stare at the young man. Can you believe that the young master from a wealthy family would choose to be a chauffeur just to become a guildmaster? Maybe he thinks I'm worn out after everything. As he pressed the gas and flashed a grin, Yu Jinho caught me looking at him. What's up? Do I have something on my face, Hyungnim? Oh, it's really nothing. I acted like I wasn't staring and pulled out my phone to distract myself. 6:46, it felt way too early to head back home. Honestly, I just didn't care. I just wanted to get some good sleep and think about what I want to do next. Ding ding, I was about to pick up his phone just out of habit, but then I noticed it was a number I didn't recognize, so I stopped. Who's that? I really don't want anyone I don't know calling me. After a quick pause, I answered the call. Is this Naruto? A male voice that's clear and articulate. I just hung up right away. From what I've seen, almost all of these calls are just telemarketers or loan sharks. I just want to get some sleep, even if they aren't. I had a feeling about who it might be, but honestly, I just want to get some sleep now. I switched on flight mode and slipped my phone into my pocket. Yu Jinho, I called out to him. Yeah, Hyungnim, he replies, giving me a quick glance. I'm going to be super busy starting tomorrow, I said, and he immediately snapped his head around to look at me, ignoring the road. Honestly, even if the absolute worst accident occurred, we'd still come out of it just fine. But that wasn't the case for the other parties. What do you mean by that, Hyungnim? He asked, his face showing a mix of fear and confusion as he realized his goal was still out of reach. So, you heard I'm taking a break. But don't worry, once I'm back, we'll really get things moving with the cleanup, I said honestly. Now that I realize I can't be late anymore, I just brushed against the doors of death and came back. Dungeons can be super unpredictable, and you never know when death might strike, even in the weakest ones. Furthermore, it requires more electricity, therefore I don't want to waste my time anymore. This is a game of life or death. And I cannot be a problem for myself. So, how long will this break last? He inquired, snapping me out of my reverie. I am also not sure about that, but it shouldn't last more than a week, and glanced at me with concern on his face. Don't worry, I'll fulfill the contract we signed. And once I finish the work I am going to undertake, it will significantly increase our speed. We will clear 5 to 6 dungeons per day, including A-rank dungeons. Consider how awesome it will look in resume clearing A-rank dungeons. In fact, if you wish, you may even reveal the details of the labyrinth we just cleared. My remarks were like devilish whispers, and they made him smile big. Yes, Hyungnim, try your hardest, as I know you can conquer an A-rank dungeon based on your last combat alone with the creature of myths. He smiled at me and said, and don't worry about the booked gates, I'll just resell them to some guild. So do your best. Hearing him, I nodded and began to look at the message I had been ignoring all this time. You have defeated the labyrinth's boss, Tome. Ding, you've reached a higher level. 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 5 levels are very good, so I'm now on Let's 65. 2.3%, now on to the next. You beat the boss, Great Asuteriosu Minotaur. Reward. Skill, Asuteriosu's Resilience. Ding, Asuteriosu Resilience. Level 1. Rank. Relic, SS, Skill Type. Passive Mana Cost. None. Area of Effect. None. Cooldown Time. 8 hours. Damage. None. Effect. The ability to resist and be resilient in the face of overwhelming odds. When the health points drop below a given threshold, this skill boosts certain stats for a limited time. Plus 5% increase in strength, vitality, and agility stats, as well as 20% skill activation when HP drops below 20%. I am pleased with a new skill, especially since it is of such high rank and came for free. Even though I enjoy having the Berserk skill, it will not be condemned because it is so good. Ding, you earned the skill. Fire resistance. As a result of long-term exposure to intense heat temperatures. Ding. As a result of continuing to endure tremendous suffering, you have achieved the skill, pain resistance. Ding. Due to your continued suffering from life-creating injuries and self-harm, you have acquired the skill, regeneration. Due to the player's persistent combat with death and coming out alive, the player earned the title, Survivor. Ding. Fire resistance level, 1. Ranking. Rare, B+, skill type. Passive mana cost, none. Area of effect, none. Cooldown, none. Damage, none. Effect. A talent acquired through prolonged exposure to heat gradually increases the player's likelihood of resisting the fire or heat. Once maxed, the skill may evolve into heat or flame resistance. Ding. Pain resistance level, 1. Ranking. Rare, B+, skill type. Passive mana cost, none. Area of effect, none. Cooldown, none. Damage, none. Effect. A skilled player who continues to demonstrate a high tolerance for severe pain. Pain resistance is a resistance skill that reduces one's perception of pain in the physical body up to a specific point. Once maxed, the skill may grow into great pain resistance. Ding. Regeneration level, 1. Ranking. Rare, A-, skill type. Passive mana cost, none. Area of effect, none. Cooldown, none. Damage, none. Effect. A skill player as a result of repeatedly being injured, healed, and repeating the process. Players have a regenerative healing component, which allows them to quickly mend and return to their optimal and full health status. The player can restore missing or injured tissues, organs, and limbs, sometimes slowing or even stopping aging, which natural regeneration can never achieve, or does so exceedingly slowly. To continue working, 80% of the player's body must always be intact and in one piece. Despite losing his head or heart, the player will continue to regenerate, if 80% of his body remained undamaged. Once maxed, the talent may grow into extreme accelerated regeneration. Ding. Because of the player's near-death experience, the player has obtained the skill, Sense Death. Ding. Sense Death. Level, 1. Ranking. Rare, A-, skill type. Passive mana cost, none. Area of effect, none. Cooldown, none. Damage, none. Effect. Recognize the dying and undead around you. Ding. Survivor doubles HP gained from strength and constitution. Rapid growth is achieved by numerous life or death confrontations. Along with levels, I added some incredible new skills to my ever-expanding range of powers. It's amazing because I learned all 3 of the most critical talents that I really desired, and these skills are what rescued me from certain deaths. And one isn't particularly useful, but it's better than nothing. I can't believe I got these talents and a great title from one fight, but I could have died in that fight. So skills are nothing in comparison to my life, and I never want to do that again. Now, let us see what it provided me. Minotaur's Cape Rarity. A type. Armor. Attack power. Plus 50 magic defense. Plus 20%. Minotaur's robe is a blue robe endowed with Minotaur power and created from Minotaur skin, capable of reducing the power of magical assaults by 20. With the exception of shockwaves, you may keep this item in your inventory. You may sell this item in the store. Why should I do that? Yes, it does not seem good. Not to add that I am not the type of person that wears capes. But with the equip function, I don't have to worry about that garbage. So, with those thoughts in mind, I immediately donned the cape. I didn't feel any different. After all, these are only passive increases. Now on to the next. Bull's Horn. Rarity. A type. Blade attack power. plus 50 a red blade fashioned from the bigger horn of the Minotaur. It's a tough blade that's difficult to break and even tougher to damage. Gives an additional 20% increased damage to species similar to bulls. You may keep this item in your inventory. You may sell this item in the store. It's a little larger than my typical daggers, but I can still utilize it, unlike the silver scythe that has been sitting in my inventory for so long. Now, let us see what happens next. I've been patiently waiting all this time. I was extremely excited and curious to read the description. My heart was racing since it was identical to Kasaka's venom gland, which gave me an incredible lift. Asuteriosu's heart rarity. S-type. Elixir, consumable. The heart of Asuteriosu carries the essence of Asuteriosu, accounting for 5% of all Asuteriosu stats. Eating will give you a permanent 5% boost to all of your stats, similar to Asuteriosu's. This heart Asuteriosu will enhance your muscles, bones, and blood, resulting in superior quality and quantity than a typical humanoid. The player will get the skill Charge of the Bull King after completion. Asuteriosu dropped a really rare item. You may keep this item in your inventory. Holy stuff. When did I become such a lucky person, and when did the gacha gods treat me so well? If so, why didn't I see this till now? It's more than incredible. It's fantastic. After all, the Minotaur was stronger than me, which is why he was able to beat the shit out of me despite my several spells and physical attacks on him. With abilities that permitted him to evade death or lengthen time, and a skill that effectively doubles his stats. This also comes with a single skill. I don't know much about it, and the details will not be revealed until I eat the heart. This is great. It provides both passive and active skills, each with different stats based on the type. As a result, it is considered more valuable than a treasure by adventurers. Hyungnim, we are here. Huh? I was so immersed in my own thoughts that I didn't realize we had arrived at my house. Thanks, I murmured as I got out of the car. No, need Hyungnim, it was nothing. He stared at me puzzledly before saying, by the way, Hyungnim, when are you planning to see those monster core? You know we have a lot to sell. You're right. I have too many of them, yet having that many on the market might cause a lot of problems. So, once I reach Korea's 10th S rank, I intend to sell them, I told him, then walked away. I noticed he had wide eyes and a shocked expression. He wanted to ask the question, but he didn't since I was already out of his line of sight. While walking, I continued to scan through the notifications, putting my body on autopilot. Let's look at the valuables I found inside the throne. Gem plus 30 attack. Gem plus 70 defense. Gem plus 90 attack. Gem plus 130 defense. Gem plus 150 attack. Gem plus 300 attack plus multi-strike. Gem plus 40 agility. Gem plus 50 stamina. Gem plus 30 cents. So the list continues on. I have 15 of these gems that provide various types of equipment upgrades. Of course, there is a clear caution that I cannot provide them with my tools or equipment. It could only be completed by a professional high-class smith. And it's a major issue if I can even find that type of smith. Perhaps it is the one who forged Kamisha's wrath, a pair of daggers made from the dragon Kamisha's fangs. Now, there is a lot of equipment such as Shamin Ring, the ring of Lyca Bolton's amulet, and Enda's shield. Alestra's bracelet, Kaldan's dagger, Merculius boots, Goddess Farah's earrings. Ring of Alestra, ebony bow, sword of self, Midnight Book of Dragon Age. Origin's moonlight skewer, law of labyrinths, the key to Sazerdan Labyrinth. Now, there is a lot of equipment like Shamin Ring, the ring of Lyca Bolton's amulet, Enda's shield. Alestra's bracelet, Kaldan's dagger, Merculius boots, Goddess Farah's earrings. Ring of Alestra, ebony bow, sword of self, Midnight Book of Dragon Age. Origin's moonlight skewer, law of labyrinths, the key Sazerdan Labyrinth. These were the only named items of equipment. The others were unnamed. The key to the labyrinth piqued my interest the most, so I promptly clicked on it to view its information. The key to Sazerdan Labyrinth. Ding. The key to Sazerdan Labyrinth. Rarity. A rank type. Key. Key for entering the Sazerdan Labyrinth, one of Demikolas's 6 labyrinths. Usable in the Jushay Tower. Are you fucking kidding? There are 5 additional labyrinths around the planet, one of which is in motherfucking North Korea. Even after I turned the universe to a full-fledged fantasy realm, things did not alter for North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. That fucker is still the ruler of North Korea, and he is prepared to use nuclear weapons if necessary. Fortunately, in times like this, North Korea has little power. Why? Simply because contemporary society is founded around the existence of hunters. You're not just limited to one country. A nation's whole strength is built around the power of their hunters, as S-ranked hunters are a valuable resource that can influence a country's military and political power. And, due to their small population, the majority of whom live in poverty, there are few hunters, with only 2 S-ranked hunters. Well, I'll think about it later. It shouldn't be that difficult to enter North Korea. I entered my room, ignoring Gina who greeted me. I came down, closing the door behind her. She did not try to knock on the door when she saw how fatigued I was. As I fall into my bed, unconcerned about the outside world, I continued scrolling down and eventually discovered something even more intriguing than the keys to Sazard and Labyrinth. Totality Cube. Click on the information in the cube. Ding, Totality Cube. Rarity is type. One of the 6 parts of the Totality Cube. Seeing so many faults, a jolt shot through my body, and I stood up. Why are there so many typos, similar to the book I received after finishing the first day's hidden quest? They even share the same name. When I took a book out of my inventory, it did not appear to be particularly unique. Just a large black book that no one would be interested in. Aside from the fact that its cover is harder than even the toughest metals available. Ding! The Book of Totality Rarity is type. Storage, one of the set pieces for the Totality Cube. The player is unable to use it since he only has one of the Totality Cube's many pieces. Without competition, it is ineffective as a junk rank item. Again, errors were something I desired, and now that I have this blank book, I'm not sure what I wanted. And while it is plainly a book kind, in the system it is classified as an error. It is one of the most mysterious objects I own, and I now have 2 of them. There are also several notifications that many of my skills have been scaled up, which I barely glanced at once. Okay, I'll think about it later. First let's view the stat. Stat, ding, name, Naruto Uzumaki LV, 65 2.3%, class, none. Title, Little Mage, Wolfslayer, Genius, Elementalist, Remorseless, Killer, Survivor HP, 5261, 5261. Recovery, 12.3%, 647.10 per minute. MP, 4728, 4728. Recovery, 13.87%, 540.23 per minute. Fatigue. Strength, 110. Constitution, 98. Agility, 121. Intelligence, 187. Sense, 118. Available stat points, 0. Physical damage reduction, 25%. Magical damage reduction is 35%. Mana consumption reduction, 18%. Power of magic attacks raised by 14%. Following the extinction of humans or any species akin to them that were self-aware, sentient, communicative, capable of building civilizations, had some definition of consciousness, could assess their acts, and could plan for the future. Capable of devising techniques to improvise, adapt, and overcome. 5% additional bonus experience points. Increased damage on demon and devil races by 15%. Increase the damage dealt to sentient humans by 5%. Skills. The Shamblu Way. Passive skills. Courage of the Weak. Unknown, maximum level. Unyielding Spirit, level 1. Mana Flow, level 2. Mana Manipulation, max level. Mana Breathing, level 1. Mana Affinity, level 2. Absolute Recall, level 1. Danger Sense, level 1. Asuteriosu's Resilience, level 1. Fire Resistance, level 1. Pain Resistance, level 1. Regeneration, level 1. Sense Death, level 1. Active Skills. Sprint, level 2. Meditation, level 2. Sharpen, level 3. Weapon Enhance, level 3. Fireball, level 2. Dagger Throw, level 2. Bloodlust, level 1. Fire Manipulation, level 1. Ice Manipulation, level 1. Water Manipulation, level 1. Electricity manipulation. Level 1, Earth manipulation. Level 1, Vapor manipulation. Level 1, Steam. Level 1, Ice wall. Level 2, Ice arrow. Level 2, Water ball. Level 2, Water bullet. Level 2, Water blade. Level 2, Wind strike. Level 2, Wind blade. Level 2, Wind ball. Level 2, Air cutter. Level 2, Sonic boom. Level 2, Stone wall. Level 2, Earth spikes. Level 2, Stone cannon. Level 1, Fire arrow. Level 2, Firewall. Level 2, Call thunder. Level 2, Lightning arrow. Level 2, Drain life. Level 2, Claws. Level 2, Body enhancement. Level 2, Shockwave. Level 1, Acid arrow. Level 1, Flame lance. Level 1, Earth lance. Level 1, Crystal lance. Level 1, Storm spear. Level 1, Lesser dexterity. Level 1, Lesser strength. Level 1, Haste. Level 1, Penetrate magic. Level 1, Equipment gatekeeper's necklace. A. Minotaur's cape. A. It's incredible improvement given I did it all in under 3 days and primarily with C rank gates. Of course, Riverinto's Labyrinth has given me the most levels out of every dungeon I've ever cleared. However, given that I have only cleared a few dungeons, it has little merit. Okay, I'll think about it later. First, let us get some sleep. I laid on my bed, shaking my head with amusement. A lot happened today, and to be honest, I haven't accepted it, even though my soul is not shackled. It cannot withstand all of this stress. Whatever happens from now on, I will deal with it. Saying this, I fall asleep peacefully. Jin Ah's point of view. Ha? Oppa, can you hear me? I called, but received no response. He appeared to be buried in meditation. His dinner was ready on the table, and I was simply waiting for him. So I got up from the couch and moved behind. Oppa! I shouted him out again, but he seemed to be ignoring me. As I looked at his clothes, I noticed that, as usual, he was wearing a different set of clothes than when he left his residence. I attempted to look at him, but he appeared exhausted, so I didn't try to stop, and the door closed in my face. I had no idea what had happened to him, or what was going on these days. He returns home extremely late. Exactly like today. And occasionally he doesn't even return for the day. Has anything happened to him? Did I do something wrong? Is he furious at me? Why is he being so cold with me? This was unlike my Oppa, who always loved and cared for me. Now he just gave me money and instructed me to use it whatever I wanted. But he appears to be working extremely hard for the same money. Since he returned from the hospital, he seemed to be ignoring me. The same was true for his mother, who visited the hospital at least once every week. And it has been about half a month since he last saw her. Why is that? I shook my head to get rid of the bad ideas. I knew this was unusual for my Oppa, so he must be doing something important, right? I'll talk to him tomorrow and let him know if I did anything wrong or if something is on his mind. I understood it was better to express my feelings than to keep them inside. Saying thus, I consoled my heart, and walked to my room. I didn't feel like eating just now. Tomorrow a.m. I knock on the door. Oppa, it's me. Can I come in? Silence. Could you please open the door? Silence. Why doesn't he open the door? While I was contemplating, I proceeded to approach the door, unsure whether or not to open it. I had no idea how to say to him. Sigh, Oppa, if you are angry with me, I apologize. Come in. Hearing his voice, I swiftly opened the door with the breakfast dish still in my hands. Oppa, since you didn't eat dinner last night, I brought breakfast. I made it with my own hands. I said with a smile, but what I saw in front of me made my eyes widen and the plate slide from my grasp. What the F? Language? Before I could finish my posture, I heard Oppa's remarks, which caused me to pause in the middle of it, while the plate that slid from my hands landed smoothly on the ground without lettering anything. What the heck are you eating? I asked him because his mouth was bloody and there was a large organ on his plate that was bloody. It's a heart, he told me plainly, as if this were the most common thing in the world. At first, I thought I should because it was a wonderful joke, but she knew he wasn't joking or lying based on his serious demeanor and the form of the organ. Bruh, are you kidding me? And why would I do that? Phew. Oof. How are you eating this? I am sickened by the scent alone and want to puke, but looking at you gives me strange wipes. Anyways, where did you get that thing? Is it from a whale or something? I'm sure no natural animal has a heart this large. I questioned him as I tried to close my nose, preventing the smell from entering. No, it's not from a whale, but you could think of something similar. It's from a monster, he told me, and I had big eyes. What don't you know? Feeding monsters or something similar can cause illness. I screamed at him. What in the name of God is he doing? Don't worry about it. Did you want anything? He inquired, continuing to eat. He even sucked blood from the heart. While my Oppa was wondering to herself while eating the heart, I began drinking my tea. For a little period, there was a peculiar quiet between us, and as the tension began to make me uncomfortable, I made my move. Nothing. I just wanted to ask, did something happen, or did I do something that you didn't like, and why would you think that? He asked me, smiling, stopping for a moment to gaze at me. Again, stillness ruled over us as the tension was ready to build. Nothing has happened recently, it's only that you've changed so much and appear to be drifting away from us. You are so busy that it appears you are urgently attempting to avoid me. I informed him about all the negative ideas I had recently. I was apprehensive as I rubbed my toes on the carpeted floor. Oppa, I know that you think that I am very irresponsible, good for nothing, and that you dislike me for it. I made the first move with my words, and he flinched, almost dropping a chunk of meat. You don't have to deny it. It's true, but that doesn't mean you have the right to accuse me of anything. You weren't there. You didn't see nor did you experience what I did, and don't worry, I don't blame you. Ha 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 ha. He chuckled as he set the plate down and stood up and moved towards me, who now had tears streaming down my cheeks. He walked near to me and took me into his hug. When he hugged me, my face fell to my chest, and tears spilled like a broken dam. I was taken aback by the quick transformation. But that changed the way I enjoyed it, so I hugged him back. I'm not sure when it happened, but tears began to fall from my eyes. After my father disappeared and my mother became ill, I fled and hid like a coward, and I was not there to help you. It is my fault. I knew it, but it was too late, and I had no idea how much you meant to me or how much I needed you. This time, even my hands trembled. I grasped my shirt and began brawling out in an angry howl. My body shuddered, and I let out all the frustrations I had faced all this time. My suffering. I'm angry, my unwillingness. Today, I let everything out in tears. He encouraged me and waited for me to finish. She continued on crying for approximately the next 5 minutes, and after she finished, we stayed in the same position for around 10 minutes. Naruto was the first to talk. Are you okay? Naruto asked. There was no reaction, but Naruto felt a slight nod on his chest. After that quiet, he looked down at his sister, and what he saw startled him. She was keeping her head down, her eyes closed, and her whole face scarlet in embarrassment like a tomato, with her lips pursed. She looked so adorable that he wanted to eat her. Feeling Naruto's attention, she gazed up at him, her eyes misty. Her venerable expression prompted his heartbeat to quicken, and he began feeling a little foggy. Naruto, feeling a little wicked, went closer and kissed her forehead, advancing towards her ears. He muttered, "You look so cute right now." Naruto simply moaned and smacked her head. Ouch! She cried in agony and stared at him pityingly. He asked, "Are you an idiot? Why would you believe such a thing?" Naruto asked with a serious face, making Gina agitated. "Oppa, that's so mean," she exclaimed, as he moved away, resting back on the bed and continuing to eat. Agitated Gina grasped her hands. She blushed heavily, unable to look at him. Naruto smiled delighted at this show, as she is quite bashful. "I am busy these days, there's nothing more to it," he assured her, and Gina nodded with sparkling eyes. "Really?" she questioned again. "Yes," he answered, displaying his bloodied teeth. "So I was worried for nothing." "Yes," Naruto said, and Gina smiled as she picked up the breakfast plate off the floor. As she was about to leave, she heard his voice. "Stop, I had to tell you something." "Yes." "Oppa?" Gina asked after turning around. "You see, I am going on a small trip." Hearing this, she frowned at him, but Naruto ignored her and continued. "It's not related to the talk we just had, it's something important." "I see. How long will this work trip of yours will last?" "I don't know, either way, it shouldn't take longer than a week." "A week isn't too long. Are you going out of the country?" Gina inquired, concerned. You could say something like that. Aside that, why don't we both go on a shopping streak when I return? After all, we soon are shifting, so why don't we buy new things with a new home? Gina jumped up upon hearing him, completely unaware that she was holding something that had spilled all over the place. Really, Oppa? Yes, why should I lie? We'll go shopping as soon as I get back. Great, thank you, Oppa, Gina said as she jumped to hug him, and he swiftly rose to grab her before she collapsed. Naruto paw. And with that, I had finished devouring the rest of Minotaur's heart. I even drank the blood. And it wasn't anything I was proud of, but I had no idea if it would work unless we ate the entire thing. After chewing, I can say that it's okay, albeit not really wonderful. It tasted like it was made of refined flour, which is not something I would like to eat. And I could feel the changes almost immediately after the first taste. I can feel myself getting stronger with each passing second. And, as soon as I thought the process had come to an end, I exclaimed gleefully. It worked! Naruto lifted his fist in victory and examined his status panel. Stats HP. 8,831,883. Recovery. 12.3%, 647.10 per minute. MP. 5030. Recovery. 14.87%, 590.03 per minute. Fatigue. Strength. 119. Constitution. 107. Agility. 130. Intelligence. 196 cents. 127. Ding. You have achieved the skill, Charge of the Bull King. Ding. Charge of the Bull King. Level 1. Rank. Epic A++. Skill type. Active mana cost. 400. Area of effect. None. Cooldown. 5 minutes. Damage. 300% effect. Charging at the player's opponents while using the skillful player provides 200% damage on the first 5 content attempts. Skill may cause the enemy to stunt or intimidate. Holy moly, I expected it to react quickly, but I didn't anticipate it to be that intense, which is understandable given that the Minotaur was stronger than me. As expected, the stat was significantly affected. Increase them by 9 levels. Which didn't seem like much when you consider that leveling up once requires hundreds of C-rank monsters. Good. As I hailed my new beginning. After celebrating, I occasionally went into my bathroom and cleaned up before putting on some new outfits and adding a few new sets to my collection. Now it was time to master the talent I had been honing for the last week. As I sat in a meditation stance, employing both mana flow and mana manipulation, I began to manipulate mana within myself. And after pulling out a small amount, I did not let it scatter in the environment. Now I began to shape it around my body, forming a thin, invisible layer of pink mana all over. Then I keep it like that. Not a single strand of hair remained unprotected by my second mana skin. While keeping the flow of outside mana connected to me and allowing the stable flow of oxygen and other requirements. Ding. After spending countless hours, I finally heard the I was prepared for my vacation. I had already purchased everything that could be required for the rite. After saying farewell to Gina, I left our apartment. In my view, there was a long, massive trail of light that passed through the entire city before separating in different directions, but there was also a distinct path of light in the forest beyond the city. Those are the dragon veins and ley lines that cover the entire world and carry the majority of the monarchy in nature, which is my goal this time. But I'm not chasing the typical dragon vein, which could kill me if I touched it. My intention this time is to separate from the original vein. Unlike the large vein, the separation has less energy, but it is sufficient for me, and because the mana in it is chaotic, no one will pursue it. Even if they saw it. There was scarcely anyone from this world. I was able to feel each of them effortlessly. Small grains of golden light were now pouring through the air, circling around me as my hair moved slightly, creating a magnificent image. I didn't see the grains of light since I was preoccupied with the mysterious sensation that the mana gave me. Naruto finds this almost fascinating. The breeze was blowing slightly on the road, and I was walking carefree. I chose to stroll slowly because I was in no hurry. Time skip. If this were my old world, I would laugh in the driver's face. Nevertheless, in this world, everything is conceivable. But what the old man was saying was extremely unlikely, but I won't dismiss it. I looked at the driver before saying, "Don't worry, old man, this is my station." I got away from the bus, as the driver groaned and drove away. I went immediately into the forest instead of following the road. I didn't require direction because the mana within me was directing me to the exact area at this time. My instincts were telling me where I needed to go. I continued going carefully and paying attention to my surroundings until something flashed in front of him. Even if my intuition tells me it will be painful and agonizing for me, it was more agonizing than any other ache I'd ever experienced. But the anguish will not prevent me from obtaining casualty godhood and exceeding it. Skip through time. I observed a cave ahead of me. I paused my steps and focused on the cave in front of me. This is the gateway of the dragon vein and ley lines. I was standing in front of the cave, felt the tremendous and chaotic mana emanating from within. Very chaotic. I scowled as I measured the mana inside the cave. This dark and malevolent aim reminds me of Angra Mainyu or Antares. Beings whose sole mission is to cause chaos, yet they produce various sorts of havoc. Although it was not as exaggerated as humanity's faults are born of devastation, this mana is extremely harmful to me right now. This is simply a separation of the dragon vein ley lines, hence it lacks the standard purification function that cleans the mana before returning it to nature. All of the negative emotions have been heaped inside the cave and will assault anyone who enters, which is why no one, including the supernatural, wishes to use these divided veins. Since these separated veins will fade away eventually, nobody really pays them any mind. It seems like not many people are familiar with dragon veins or ley lines. I was just mulling over how to get into this dragon vein when suddenly, the system screen popped up in front of me. Just a heads up. Watch out, it's the danger zone. Dragon veins is a place packed with corrupted mana. It's like a corruption zone, almost its own separate plane of existence. There are tons of dragon veins and ley lines around, but they're all messed up because of the sheer number of corrupted creatures hanging around. All those negative emotions have piled up in the cave, just sitting there. Just a heads up. The system is recommending that players hold off on entering this area until they hit level 100. Even though I can see the obvious red flags right in front of me, I just can't bring myself to stop now, even if it feels risky. The guy I've created is my way to boost my power to the next level, and I can do it without having to level up or rely on the system. I realized what my real weakness is, or maybe the limits of the human body. It's just life, you know. No matter how much I try to level up from the shadows, it never feels completely real. Humans always seem to want more, and I feel like I can't stay in this shell. It's really just a vision shaped by energy in a unique way. I just can't accept this at all. Existence can be tricky, right? I mean, shadows are created from energy, soul, and a couple of other things. I think this limit might impact the usual strength of my shadows down the line, so I'd better handle it now and for good. Even before they can create them, their power should be on the rise from the very beginning, not decreasing. Honestly, before I even made the shadows, it was just to get rid of this limit, and since it wasn't too costly for my current situation. But somehow, the mana connected with this world's mana, which kicked off all the other things that happened. This thing could really impact my life in some ways. I'm aware. Pain and suffering are real, but putting your life on the line is something else entirely. I get it. There's no do-over for me in any world. I feel like I might just fade away, as if I was never really here, leaving no trace of my existence. But do I really need to put your life on the line just for power? What about power? In my short life, I've come to see that power is my main focus. It was just. I'm ready to stop hesitating and not leave anything for later regret. It feels like no one will ever hear my wish, you know? Just a guy who got a second chance but was too scared to make the most of it. I just shook my head. Naruto, come on. Stop pretending like it's the end of the world and just come in. Don't worry about reluctance. It's not something you need to deal with. I took a deep breath and strolled over to the cave entrance. The cave was pretty small, and you could see the end of it right away. There wasn't much room to move around inside. The moment I stepped in here, I could feel the mana inside me start to race. My heart raced as it led me to the entrance of the dragon vein and key line. The cave seemed pretty typical, you know, by regular standards. But I didn't let my eyes fool me. Important things often don't come easily. A wave of pink and multicolor mana appeared on my hand, and I gently pointed my finger forward. As soon as my finger brushed against the air in front of me, it felt like the space rippled like water and began to unfold. A green portal popped up right in front of me. Dragon veins and ley lines, even though they're tied to nature, actually exist in a different dimension, I said, nodding while I watched the gate getting bigger. Even though they aren't as big or powerful as the dimensional gates, dragon veins are found in various dimensions created by mana from mana. So, mana users can tap into certain dragon veins, but if you're looking to get into the real deal, you'll need a key, like the yellow dragon, or a beast that has serious control over mana, like yours truly. Who had mana manipulation, a divine skill that's at EX rank and fully maxed out. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.